session, we are going to discuss the excipients which are used for the preparation of semi-solid dosage forms like ointment, gel, paste, and cream. Isn't it? So this is a disclaimer. I have listed the various excipients which are used to prepare the semi-solid dosage form. Very first one, that is the semi-solid bases. Second one, that is the penetration enhancer, and third one, that is the other additives which are used to prepare the semi-solid dosage form. So the semi-solid bases like oleaginous or the anhydrous bases, then absorption bases, then emulsifying bases, then water soluble bases, soap bases, hydrocolloids, and the clays. So these are some of the semi-solid bases which are used to prepare the ointment, gel, paste, and creams. Apart from these semi-solid bases, there is a need to use the penetration enhancers. So the penetration enhancers, these are going to increase the permeability of drug through the skin. For example, surfactants and the dimethyl sulfoxide. Apart from the semi-solid bases and the penetration enhancers, we have to supposed to use some other additives while preparing these formulations like organic solvents, then the anti-drying agents, anti-caking agents, then the buffers, antioxidants, preservatives, and the organoleptic additives. So these are the excipients which are used to prepare the semi-solid dosage form. So more specifically, as I have said that in the semi-solid dosage form, generally we are using the dosage forms like ointments, creams, pastes, and gels. If we want to prepare the ointment, we have to suppose to use the ointment base, then the solvents, antioxidants, and the preservatives. If we have the sufficient knowledge about the ointment bases, solvents, antioxidants, and preservative, it is possible to formulate the ointment. For the formulation of cream, we have to suppose to use the base, then the emulsifiers, humectant, antioxidants, preservatives, and the flavoring agent. Generally, the creams are either O by W or the W by O types of the emulsion. In the case of pastes, we have to suppose to use the bases, then the antioxidants, preservatives, and the flavoring agent. And in the last case, that is a gels. That is, we have to suppose to use the gelling agents like hydrocolloids or some hydrophilic polymers, then humectant and co-solvents, stabilizers, antioxidants, preservatives, and the flavoring agent. When we are comparing ointment, cream, paste, gel, in the case of ointment, we are using the ointment base. In the case of cream, we are using here the either O by W type of base or W by O type of base. In the case of paste, the bases are different than the ointment. And in the case of gels, generally we are using the hydrocolloids as the gel base, or all these are the gelling agents. So this is about the formulation of semi-solid dosage form. Moving towards the very first point, that is the semi-solid bases. So semi-solid bases, these are either ointment bases or the emulsifying agents or the gelling agents, which are important vehicle for the semi-solid dosage form. Many of these bases acts as a carrier for drug and the penetration enhancers. Whatever the bases we are using for preparation of the semi-solid dosage form, these are going to act as a penetration enhancers, as well as they are going to act as a carrier for the drug molecule. Most of these bases exhibit to have the local effect, isn't it? Not a systemic effect. Moving towards the ideal properties of semi-solid bases, how the semi-solid base should be, how it should be actually. Very first point, that is whatever the selected base is there, it should be inert. It should be non-toxic, non-irritant, non-sensitizing. Pharmacologically, whatever the base is there, it should be non-toxic. It should not have any of the pharmacological activity, isn't it? Then it should be compatible with the skin pH and the skin secretion. If it is not compatible with the skin secretions or the skin pH, what will happen? It may be irritating to the skin. Moving towards it should not dehydrate the skin, as well as it should not retard the wound healing. Most of the semi-solid formulations, these are used for the wound healing purpose. So whatever the base which is used in the formulation, it should not retard the wound healing, as well as it should not dehydrate the skin. The next ideal property, that is, it should be pharmaceutically elegant. Pharmaceutically elegant means most of the ointment bases, they are not elegant, isn't it? If it is elegant, which increases the acceptability of the product by the patient, isn't it? Then it should possess the good stability. Stability, it is the yet another factor, because there are some bases are there, they are very prone to rancidity, isn't it? That's why whatever the base is there, it should be stable. Then it should be compatible with the drug. Whatever the drug, see the API, it is having a either it is acidic in nature, it is basic in nature, or neutral in nature. It may be reactive or it may be non-reactive. Depending on that, it may get reacted with the chemicals which are present in the bases, isn't it? So we have to suppose to select the such a base, it should not chemically react with the API, isn't it? So as to it is compatible with the API, that is the drug. Then it should be good solvent property, as well as it should have the emulsifying property, isn't it? Then it should not increase the affinity of drug towards the vehicle. If the drug is having a highest affinity towards these bases, what will happen? Drug is not going to be released from the formulation and it will retain in the formulation only. Then these bases should produce the good consistency product. Then it should melt or become soft at a body temperature. As you know that all these are the semi-solid formulations, and when we are applying onto the skin, it should be melted, isn't it, at a body temperature. It should enhance the contact of drug with the skin. So whatever basis we have selected, it should enhance the contact of drug with the skin. Then furthermore, it should have the good residence time on the skin. So automatically the efficacy of the product, it is going to be increased. It should release the drug readily after application. If the drug is having a highest affinity towards the basis, what will happen? Such drugs are not going to be released, isn't it? So the base should have the such a property, or it should have the less affinity towards the drug molecule, but it should have the ability to dissolve the drug molecule in the vehicle or the specific semi-solid base. It should not interfere with the skin penetration of the drug. Most of the semi-solid bases, they are having the ability to improve or ability to increase the permeability, skin permeability. It should be non-greasy and easily removable. Most of the bases which are used in the semi-solid preparation, they are oily in nature, they are non-washable, and it may produce the discomfort. It should possess the emollient and the protective property. So it is very important. Inherent, whatever the bases are there, it should have the emollient as well as the skin protective property. And finally, it should be non-polluting and environment friendly, isn't it? It should not pollute the environment, isn't it? So these are the some of the ideal properties of the semi-solid bases which are used to prepare the semi-solid dosage form. So moving towards the excipients used in the semi-solid dosage form. So very first one, that is a semi-solid bases. From that very first one, that is the oleaginous base. Itself name indicate that it is oily in nature, isn't it? That's why it is said to be the oleaginous base. All these bases are anhydrous in nature. These are the anhydrous in nature. They do not absorb the water. They are not having the ability to absorb the water, as they are hydrophobic in nature, isn't it? Or you can say it as a lipophilic in nature. They have the emollient property and reside prolonged time period on the skin. Some of the oleaginous bases, they are having the emollient property, as well as they are going to reside for longer period of time onto the skin. Then they are stable to heat, resistant to rancidification and the microbial growth. As all these are the from synthetic source, so they are stable to heat, they are resistant to rancidification and the microbial growth. If it is from the natural source, there may be chances of rancidification as well as the microbial growth, isn't it? If it is a synthetic source like a petroleum, petrolactam, then it is stable, then resistant to rancidification as well as the microbial growth. They are compatible with a wide variety of drugs and additives due to the saturation. These bases are greasy, it is very important. So whatever the oleaginous bases, these are the greasy in nature with a poor aesthetic appeal. As such, its aesthetic appeal is very, very poor and difficult to wash with water. It is not at all possible to wash the petrolatum with the help of water. That is the oleaginous basis. It forms occlusive water impermeable film on the skin. When we are applying the oleaginous base, it is going to form a occlusive film onto the skin, which is a water impermeable. That is, these bases prevents the water loss from the skin and increases the slight temperature of skin, which promotes the penetration of drug due to hydration. It is due to hydration. Means when we are applying the oleaginous base onto skin, they are going to form a occlusive film, which prevents the evaporation of water. So water which is going to be retained onto the skin and which promotes the hydration and furthermore the penetration of drug. Do you got the point? Yes. So moving towards the examples of the oleaginous bases. So what we have discussed, these are the important properties of the oleaginous base. Let us move towards the specific examples of the oleaginous bases. Very first one, that is a soft paraffin. It is also known as the petrolatum, which is having a melting point 37 degrees Celsius. So it is available as a yellow and white petrolatum jelly. Unbleached yellow petrolatum is used in ointment containing colored drug. As I have said that there are two types of the petrolatums are available in the market. Very first one, that is a yellow, and second one is a white one, white petroleum jelly. So white petroleum jelly, it is a bleached form of the yellow petroleum jelly, isn't it? And yellow petroleum jelly, it is used in ointment containing the colored drugs and the semi-solids intended for open wound and eye. It is not possible to use the bleached form of petroleum for the open wound and the eyes because of irritation or the toxicity produced by the impurities which is present in the white petroleum jelly. Moving towards the hard paraffin. So we have discussed the soft paraffin. Moving towards the hard paraffin, it is having a melting point that is 40 to 70 degrees Celsius. It is a colorless, white, translucent, waxy substance used to harden or stiffen the ointment. So the hard paraffin, that is again petrolactum, it is used to increase the stiffness of ointment or the hardness of the ointment. Similarly, mineral oil, it is used in an ointment for the emollient effect. That is a light liquid paraffin is used to soften the ointment, isn't it? And hard paraffin, it is used for the hardening of the semi-solid formulations, that is ointment. Then the next type of wax, that is known as the ozokerite wax. So ozokerite wax, it is having a melting point 73 to 76 degrees Celsius. It is obtained from the mineral source. The source is very important. So ozokerite wax, it is obtained from the mineral source. It is used to improve, as it is having a high melting point, so it is going to increase the hardness, then the gel strength, and the consistency of hydrocarbon bases, and the consistency of the hydrocarbon bases. So the Ceresin wax, it is having a melting point 61 to 78 degrees Celsius. It is the purified form of ozokerite wax. So the purified form of the ozokerite wax, it is known as the Ceresin wax. Ozokerite wax, it is mainly used to improve the hardness, gel strength, and the consistency of the hydrocarbon bases. Moving towards the microcrystalline waxes. So microcrystalline waxes are a type of waxes produced by the de-oiling petrolatum. It is used to control the crystal changes of paraffin wax and used with the liquid paraffin to increase the viscosity and forms a stable networks with oil to prevent oozing, bleeding, or sweating of the ointment. Sometimes in the ointment, there may be the chances of oozing of the some liquid material from the formulation. In such cases, we have to suppose to use the microcrystalline waxes in the formulation, so which will prevent the oozing, bleeding, or the sweating. Next wax, that is known as the candelilla wax. It is derived from leaves of the small candelilla. So it is obtained from the leaves of the small candelilla. It consists of 50% of the hydrocarbons, approximately 50% of the hydrocarbons, and it is used to harden the waxes without raising their melting point. Maybe in the case of the hard paraffin, it is going to increase the melting point of the whole formulation. But when we are using the candelilla wax, it is going to harden the formulation without rising the melting point of whole formulation, right? So this is about the candelilla wax. Moving towards the carnauba wax. So it is a vegetable wax obtained from the carnauba palm. It is hard, amorphous, and lustrous, and is also known as the Brazil wax. It is also known as the Brazil wax. Then the beeswax, maybe all of you are aware about the beeswax, which is obtained from the honeycomb, having a melting point 62 to 65 degrees Celsius. It is available as a yellow as well as a white beeswax. It is used as a stiffening agent, then WBO emulsion stabilizer, as a source of acid to form a soap emulsifier in the cold cream. That is a beeswax borax system to get the cold cream. Then mixing with the hydrocarbon bases improves the firmness of the occlusive film. When we are using the beeswax along with the hydrocarbon base, it improves the firmness of the occlusive film. So this is about the beeswax. Beeswax, it is available as a yellow as well as the white. White, it is the bleached form of the yellow. Then the next, that is a vegetable oils like almond oil, castor oil, cottonseed oil, also used for their emollient effect and solvent property, but they are prone to rancidification, which is prevented by using oil soluble antioxidants or by converting these oils into its hydrogenated form. That is known as hydrogenation of oil. That is hydrogenated castor oil. It is very hard with a melting point 83 to 88 degrees Celsius and used to provide stiffness to the creams and the emulsion. So this is about the fixed oil. Fixed oils are prone to rancidification. If we want to prevent the rancidification, we have to suppose to use some antioxidants in the formulation. Antioxidants, these are the agents which are going to prevent the oxidation of the oil. Then long chain alcohols and acids, for example, stearic acid, stearyl alcohol, cetyl alcohol, cytostearyl alcohol, used in a combination with the other bases to improve the emollient or water absorption capacity. See, always we are not using the oil soluble drugs. sometimes the drugs which are soluble in a water, isn't it? So in such cases, we have to suppose to incorporate the some volume of water into the semi-solid formulation. And in these cases, we require the absorption basis, isn't it? Or we require the agent which is having a capacity to accommodate some volume of the water, isn't it? So it is used in a combination with the other bases to improve the emollient or water absorption capacity, or as a W by O emulsion stabilizer. Petrolatum with a 5% cetyl alcohol absorbs 50% of its weight of water. So it is having a capacity to accommodate the 50% of its original weight, isn't it? I think so. Here which we have finished the oleaginous base. Let us move towards the absorption bases. So these are the oleaginous bases, again capable of absorbing several times of their own weight of water to form W by O emulsion. So the continuous phase is oil. Continuous phase is oil. Only thing is that they are having a capacity to absorb the water. That's why it is said to be the absorption basis. These are anhydrous and water insoluble. Then it is not washed easily with water, as the continuous phase is oil. So it is not possible, that is non-washable, but easy to incorporate solution of water soluble drug into the absorption basis. They have good emollient property, but poor occlusive property than the oleaginous phase. The main thing is that main property of the absorption basis, that it is having a good emollient property and poor occlusive property. There are two types of the absorption bases are there. Very first one is anhydrous base and second one is a hydrous absorption base. Anhydrous bases, for example, wool fat, anhydrous lanolin or lanolin. They are going to absorb water and it is going to form the W by O emulsion. So the lanolin, anhydrous lanolin or wool fat, they're having the ability to absorb the water, and furthermore, it is going to form W by O emulsion. It absorbs water twice of its weight, and it is suitable to incorporate excess water phase in oily bases. So this is about the anhydrous bases. Hydrous absorption base, these are W by O emulsifying bases with additional water absorption capacity. Additional means, see, here in the anhydrous bases, it is having a, say for example, X absorption capacity. So when we are using the hydrous absorption base, the X capacity, it is going to be changed into the 2X, 3X, 4X likewise. Its capacity, it is going to be enhanced or increased. So these are W by O emulsifying bases with additional water absorption capacity. They are water insoluble and unwashable. As the hydrous absorption base, it is water insoluble as well as the unwashable. When it is used with a vegetable oil, it penetrates the skin, and furthermore, it is going to promote the drug absorption. If we are using the hydrous absorption basis along with the vegetable oil, it is going to enhance the drug permeability or the absorption. So the hydrous lanolin and hydrous wool fat contain 20 to 30% of water. So these are the examples of the hydrous absorption bases. So examples are hydrous lanolin or the hydrous wool fat. It absorbs more amount of water, isn't it? So this is about the absorption bases. Moving towards the next type of base, that is known as the emulsifying bases. So itself name indicates that it is prepared by using the emulsification. So these are water miscible and washable type of O by W type of emulsion, oil in water type of emulsion. So here the continuous phase is water. So it is going to be washed easily. So after application, it forms a semi-permeable film and absorbs any serious discharge. Say, for example, we have applied the emulsifying basis on the open wound. It is going to form a semi-permeable film, as well as whatever the skin discharge is there, it is going to be absorbed by the emulsifying basis. They contain a hydrophilic surfactant, which are either anionic, cationic, or the non-ionic in nature. So it contains the hydrophilic surfactants, which are furthermore classified as anionic, cationic, or the non-ionic in nature. So the presence of surfactant in the emulsifying basis, it is going to increase the solubility of drug as well as the skin penetration by altering the skin barrier effect. So surfactants are having the two effects. One, that is, it is going to increase the solubility of drug, and second, it is going to alter the skin barrier, thereby increases the permeability of the drug or drug absorption. For example, emulsifying wax IP or anionic emulsifying wax is composed of 90% cetosterol alcohol and 10% sodium lauryl sulfate. So sodium lauryl sulfate is the surfactant. Then European emulsifying wax A contains sodium cetosterol sulfate in a place of SLS. Okay. Then centrimide is a cationic surfactant having a bactericidal action. Then centrimide wax contains 10% of centrimide and 90% of the cetosterol alcohol. So these are the some of the examples of the emulsifying bases which are widely used to prepare some semi-solid preparations, that is the ointment. Then citamacrogol is a non-ionic surfactant. So citamacrogol emulsifying wax contains 20% of citamacrogol 1000 and 80% of cetosterol alcohol. So this is about the emulsifying bases. Let us move towards the water soluble bases. So water soluble bases, for example, polyethylene glycol, that is a PEG, or it is also known as the macrogols, or it is also known as the carbowaxes, are the water soluble bases. And low molecular weight polyethylene glycol, look at the table. So here, as polyethylene glycol, it is available in the various grades starting from PEG 200 to PEG 20,000. So PEG 200, 300, 400, 600, all these are liquid. Then PEG 1000, it is a soft and semi-solid having a melting point 37 to 40 degrees Celsius. Then PEG 1500, it is a semi-solid with a melting point 38 to 41 degrees Celsius. Similarly, PEG 4000, PEG 6000, it is a waxy solid with a melting point ranging between 50 to 63 degrees Celsius. And PEG 20,000, which is a free-flowing milled powder with a melting point 60 to 63 degrees Celsius. So the required consistency of product can be obtained by using a combination of pH of various molecular weights. So we have to suppose to combine, say for example, PG 400, PG 4000. So we'll get the required consistency of the semi-solid preparation. Alone PEG grade, single PEG grade, it is not suitable to prepare the semi-solid formulation. So they are water soluble, very important, non-greasy, as well as the washable. It is possible to wash this polyethylene glycol. It does not form occlusive film. It is not going to form any type of occlusive film on the skin. Then it is non-emollient and non-protective in nature. It doesn't have the emollient property, as well as it is non-protective in nature. It does not support the microbial growth, as it is the synthetic derivative. It's a synthetic derivative. It does not support microbial growth, and it is stable in nature. It is easily removed by the perspiration and skin exudate. So this is about the water soluble bases. So we have discussed the oleaginous bases, hydrocarbon bases, emulsifying bases, and water soluble bases. All these are the ointment bases. Is that clear to you? Okay. So moving towards the soap bases. So these are the semi-solid soap emulsions used to prepare creams. Now we have shifted into the creams. We have finished the ointment part, the bases which are used in ointment. In the case of preparation of creams, we are using the soap bases. So these are the semi-solid soap emulsions used to prepare the cream. Most of the soaps are alkaline and only suitable for unbroken skin. As you know that all the soaps are which are the alkaline in nature, and it is suitable for the only unbroken skin. The soaps which are prepared by using a triethanolamine, generally it is prepared by using a sodium hydroxide or the potassium hydroxide. But if it is prepared by using a triethanolamine, it is a neutral in nature. The beeswax and borax soap, it is used to prepare the cold cream. Similarly, the soap between stearic acid and sodium or potassium hydroxide, it is used to prepare the vanishing cream. So these are the two examples. So while preparing the cold cream, generally we are using the beeswax borax system type of a soap as a base. And if you want to prepare the vanishing cream, generally we are using the stearic acid with the sodium or potassium hydroxide, right? The oily calamine liniment BP stands for the British Pharmacopoeia, and zinc cream BP are W by O emulsions. Oil is a continuous phase based on in situ formation of a divalent soap, that is a calcium folate. So here we are using the oleic acid as a one of the ingredient, and there is a during the formulation there is a formation of a divalent soap, isn't it? So this is about the soap bases. Moving towards the next type of base, that is known as the hydrocolloids. Maybe you have heard about the term polymers, polysaccharides, hydrocolloids, gelling agent, and so on. Here I have used the general term, that is a hydrocolloid. So these are the polysaccharides of high molecular weight extracted from the plants, algae or produced by the microbial synthesis. That is known as the hydrocolloid, isn't it? So to prepare the gels, generally we are using the hydrocolloid. It may be means for the preparation of gel, it is possible to use the organic material as well as the inorganic material. In the case of organic material, generally we are using the polymers, that is a hydrocolloid. So very first one, that is the alginic acid. It is used as a thickening and suspending agent in the pastes and gels. So the alginic acid, it is a natural polymer. It is used as a thickening as well as suspending agent in the preparation of pastes and the gels. It is also used as a O by W emulsion stabilizer, oil in water. It absorbs about 200 to 300 times of own weight of water and swell, but does not dissolve. As a sodium alginate, it is not going to be dissolved. It is going to be swell up to 200 to 300 times of its weight. There may be the ionic interaction with the cations like a calcium, and which increases the viscosity of gel. As in the market, the alginic acid, it is available as a sodium alginate. It is available as a sodium alginate. And when sodium alginate exposes to the solution of sodium alginate exposes to the calcium chloride, there is an ionic interaction, and furthermore, the viscosity of gel, it is going to be increased. Then the tragacanth, it is a natural gum used as a suspending agent in the pastes and gels. It swells 10 times in its own weight in hot as well as the cold water to produce a colloidal solution or a semi-gel. Then a wetting agent like glycerin, propylene glycol, or 95% alcohol promotes the gelling property of the tragacanth. Then sodium carboxymethyl cellulose. Sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, it is a semi-synthetic derivative of the cellulose. Cellulose, it is a natural So after chemical modification, there is a carboxymethylation, we will get the sodium carboxymethyl cellulose. So it is a semi-synthetic derivative of cellulose. As a concentration, at a concentration 3 to 6%, it is going to form a gel, and it shows a mucoadhesive property, as well as it is going to absorb wound exudate. Whatever the wound secretions are there, skin secretions are there, it is going to be absorbed by the sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, and also it is having a mucoadhesive property. Okay, moving towards the hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. So hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose, again it is a semi-synthetic derivative of cellulose, which is prepared by using a hydroxypropylation. So it is used as a thickening agent in the PES and as a gelling agent at a concentration 1 to 2%. It is going to form a thixotropic gel. So all these are the hydrocolloids, that is alginic acid, tragacan, sodium carboxymethyl cellulose, hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. Yes, two more important hydrocolloids are there. One that is known as the carrageenan, and second one is the carbapol. Carbapol, it is having a good gelling property. Almost more than 90% of gels are prepared by using the carbapol. So the first one, that is the carrageenan, it is obtained from the red seaweed. So the iota and kappa carrageenan shows the good gelling property. Some other categories of the grades of the carragenans are available. From that, the iota and kappa carrageenan shows the good gelling property. It forms a thixotropic gel. It is used to improve the slipperiness and rub out the creams and lotions. So it forms a good spreadable topical gel. And one more important thing related with the carrageenan, like alginic acid, there is an ionic interaction with the cations like calcium increases the viscosity of gel. So this is not a case with the carboxymethyl cellulose or the hydroxypropyl methyl cellulose. Both are the semi-synthetic derivatives of the cellulose. Carbapol, it is a synthetic derivative of acrylic acid polymer. It swells in the water and glycerin and form three-dimensionally cross-linked microgel. So it is widely used as a gelling agent as well as the viscosity modifier. And neutralization of carbapol with a solution produces the viscous gel at a pH 6 to 11. If the pH of solution it is less than 6, we will get the solution. But when we are increasing the pH, the solution gets converted into the viscous gel. For example, by addition of triethanolamine. Means when we are preparing the carbapol gels, generally the triethanolamine it is used as a neutralizing agent to neutralize the solution of carbapol, as it is a acrylic acid copolymer. You got the point? Antioxidants are generally used to prevent the oxidation of carbapol gel. So this is about the carbapol. Various grades of the carbapol which are available in the market. Yes, moving towards the clays. So the clays are used as a thickening agent, then suspending agent and structured vehicles, gelling agent and O by W emulsifying agent. Maybe you are aware about some clays like bentonite, hectorite, vigum, attapulgite. So these are the some of the clays which are used in the preparation of semi-solid dosage form. First one, that is the bentonite. So bentonite, it is a naturally occurring colloidal hydrated aluminum silicate. So it's a bentonite. It is the colloidal hydrated aluminum silicate. It mainly consists of the montmorillonite. So it is going to be swell about 12 times its original volume and produces a sol or a gel depending on its concentration. So this is about the bentonite. Then hectorite, it is a naturally occurring 2:1 phyllosilicate clay of the montmorillonite. Its main component of the bentonite. Then Vigum. Vigum, it is a magnesium aluminum silicate. It is a blend of the saponite and montmorillonite. It absorbs water to swell many times its original volume, and the swelling, it is a reversible. So it is possible to dry the Vigum and rehydrate it many times. Whole preparation is stable. Then attapulgite, it is a hydrated magnesium silicate. It absorbs considerable water to form a gel. So this is about the clays. Now moving towards the penetration enhancer. So we have finished the first part, that is the bases which are used to prepare the semi-solid formulation. Now the second important excipient which is used to prepare the semi-solid formulation, that is the penetration enhancer. So itself name indicate that they are going to promote the penetration of drug through the skin. So these are the agent which promote the penetration of drug into skin or reduces skin barrier properties. Before discussing the mechanism of penetration enhancers and the examples, there is a need to understand the ideal properties of penetration enhancers, how it should be. So whatever selected penetration enhancer, it should be pharmacologically inert, it should be non-toxic, non-irritating, and non-allergenic. It is compatible with the drug and excipient. It should be odorless, colorless, and tasteless. Then it should have a good solvent property and it should be inexpensive. It should not promote loss of body fluids, electrolytes, and other endogenous material. And after discontinuation, skin barrier properties should be restored, isn't it? Suppose that we have discontinued any of the semi-solid formulation, whatever the skin barrier properties are there, it should be restored. So these are the some ideal properties of the penetration enhancers. So the moving towards the mechanisms of penetration enhancer, how they are going to act. Very first one, they are going to increase the solubility of drug in solvent. For example, surfactants, they are having the ability to increase the solubility. Some solvents, then these are going to reduce the surface tension and thus improving the drug skin contact. Yes, definitely some of the penetration enhancer, they are having the ability to reduce the surface tension and thereby improves the drug skin contact time. Then they are going to disrupt the lipid component of the skin and thereby promotes the permeability of drug. And last, that is a temporary alteration in the skin permeability. So these are the some mechanisms by which the penetration enhancers are going to act. Moving towards the examples, so this is a very short list. Very first one, there is a terpenes, for example, cineol, limonene, then pyrrolidone and methyl 2-pyrrolidone is the example. Then fatty acid and esters like oleic acid, capric acid, sulfoxides, for example, DMSO, DMF, that is a dimethyl sulfoxide and dimethyl formamide. Then alcohols, glycols, glycerides, cyclodextrins, and phospholipids. Moving towards the organic solvents. So the organic solvents are used to increase the solubility of drug. For example, ethanol. Maybe all of you are aware about the ethanol. It is one of the organic solvent, and almost in so many conventional formulation, ethanol it is used as a solvent. So some drugs, why? Because some drugs are not soluble in the bases, like ointment or gel paste. So we are using the alcohol or a low molecular weight alcohol used to improve the homogeneity of drug in the formulation. So these solvents may promote the penetration of drug into stratum corneum. Furthermore, evaporation of these solvents after application, which increases the concentration gradient and thermodynamic activity of drug. There are two ways are there by which these organic solvents are going to increase the permeability. Very first one, that is, it increases the solubility. Second one, as they are volatile in nature, after application, they are going to evaporate and exerts the concentration gradient. Thereby, the permeability of drug it is going to be increased. Then anti-drying agent. These agents are used to prevent the drying of semi-solids. So these agents are going to prevent the drying of the semi-solids as anti-rolling or plasticizers in the pest. So it is going to prevent the crystallization of saturated phase in the hydroalcoholic gels. It avoids precipitation of drug inside the cap, that is a container. For example, glycerin, low molecular weight PEG, such as a PEG 200. They're going to act as a simply you can say humectant, isn't it? That is the anti-drying agent. So they are going to prevent the crystallization as well as they are going to prevent the drying of the semi-solid formulation. For example, glycerin or the PEG 200. Next one that is known as an anti-caking agent. So these agents are hygroscopic and absorb large amount of water without liquefying. Without liquefying, they are having a ability to absorb the large amount of water. For example, colloidal silicon dioxide, or also it is known as the aerosol. Also, it is known as the aerosol. They are used as a adsorbent, anti-caking agent, and viscosity enhancing agent or suspending agent in the gels or other semi-solids. And they are going to form or produce a transparent gel. That is a aerosol or the colloidal silicon dioxide. Then the buffers. So these agents have a capacity to maintain the stable pH of the formulation. So they are used to maintain the pH. So buffers are added to semi-solid formulation for the compatibility with the skin. If the formulation pH it is different than the skin pH, what will happen? Simply it may produce the irritation, which is to improve the compatibility with the skin, drug solubility, and the stability. For example, sodium acetate, sodium citrate, and potassium metaphosphate. So these are the some buffers which are used in the semi-solid formulation. Then antioxidants. Antioxidants are agents which prevents the oxidation of the product. So these are the unsaturated oily phase is more prone to oxidation. For example, butylated hydroxytoluene, butylated hydroxyanisole, tocopherol, propyl or methyl chalates. So these are the some antioxidants which are used in the semi-solid formulation. Then preservatives. These are the agents which prevent the growth of microorganism in the formulation. So semi-solids with the aqueous phase are prone to microbial contamination, and hence we have to supposed to use the preservative. For example, methyl or propyl paraben, benzoic acid, sodium benzoate, phenol, cresol, benzalkonium chloride, phenyl mercuric salt, thiomersal, and then the organoleptic additives, which increases the aesthetic appeal of the product, like coloring agent or the flavoring agent. So the natural colors or certified dyes and lakes are used to give the color to the topical preparation. And the flavoring agents like flower-based perfumes such as lavender, rose, or jasmine, which are widely. Okay. So herewith we have finished the formulation of the semi-solid dosage form, which is related with the ointments, creams, pastes, and gels. Ointments are prepared with the ointment bases, solvents, antioxidants, and preservatives. Creams, by using a cream basis, emulsifier, humectants, antioxidants, preservatives, and flavoring agents. Pastes, paste bases, antioxidants, preservatives, flavoring agent. Gels, that is a gelling agent, humectants, stabilizers, antioxidants, preservatives, and flavoring agent. So herewith we have finished the excipients which are used to prepare the semi-solid dosage forms or the formulation of semi-solid dosage form. So just we have discussed the excipients used to prepare the semi-solid dosage form. Now we will move towards the next point, that is the selection of bases. On what criteria or on what basis we have to suppose to select these ointment bases for the preparation of semi-solid dosage form. So let us move towards the selection of bases. So this is a disclaimer. So in the selection of semi-solid bases, we have to suppose to consider the following major factors. The very first factor, it should be considered, that is we should get the desired release rate of drug substance from the semi-solid dose. That is very important. See, we are going to incorporate the drug into the semi-solid formulation, semi-solid base, and if the semi-solid base it is not going to release the drug, it is not acceptable. So that is a very first point. The second point, that is the desirability of topical or percutaneous drug absorption. Whatever the base is there, it should promote the percutaneous absorption of the drug. Then desirability of occlusion of moisture from the skin. This is the third desirable, the factor which needs to be considered. Then stability of drug in the semi-solid base. Sometimes drugs are not stable in the semi-solid bases. Then effect, if any, of the drug on the consistency or other features of the semi-solid base. Then desire for a base easily removed by the washing with the water, means water washability. It is one of the important criteria while selecting the bases. And characteristics of the surface to which it is applied, on which surface we are applying the formulation, whether it is open wound or whether it is unbroken skin or any other affected part. There are three important factors are there which needs to be considered, which are categorized as the pharmaceutical factors, second one is the dermatological factors, and third one is the cosmetic factors. So the pharmaceutical factors furthermore divided into the solvent property, escaping tendency, emulsifying property, then consistency, stability, concentration, and color of drug. We'll see one by one. Very first one, that is a solvent property. So whatever the base is there, it should be good solvent for the drug which promotes the homogeneous distribution and percutaneous absorption. When we are selecting the any base for the preparation of semi-solid formulation, it should act as a good solvent for the drug. It should release the unionized form of drug. So whatever the base is there, it should have the good solvent property. Then the escaping tendency, the vehicle should not have more affinity towards the drug. Okay, whatever the vehicle is there, it should have ability to dissolve the drug. But if it is having a high affinity towards the drug, what will happen? It may retard the drug. So drug should have the escaping tendency from the formulation. And soluble drug from its saturated solution or finely dispersed drug escapes rapidly from the formulation. If we have the saturated solution or finely dispersed drug is there in the formulation, such a drug, it is going to be escapes rapidly from the formulation and it is going to be permeated or the absorbed. So this is about the escaping tendency. Then the emulsifying property, that is oil soluble and water soluble drug can be incorporated into the emulsion. If we have the drug which is having a oil solubility, good oil solubility, if we have the drug which is having a good aqueous solubility, we have to suppose to think about the emulsion, and depending on the solubility of drug, we have to suppose to prepare the O by W type of emulsion or W by O type of emulsion. So it is going to improve the skin contact, then drug release, spreading, as well as the washing, isn't it? Depending on the type of emulsion. So the creams are preferred than the ointment. As already we have discussed the ointment bases, And whatever the cream bases are there, they are easily washable than the ointment bases, except fourth base, that is a water soluble base. Then the next property, that is known as the consistency. So the consistency, it determines ease of application and time period of skin contact. It is related with the formulation. So the consistency of semi-solid can be adjusted by using a blend of liquid, solid, or semi-solid grade of paraffin or the carbovaxin. Suppose the consistency is very hard. It is possible to apply the formulation on the skin. If the consistency is very soft, what will happen? It will drain from the skin, isn't it? Beeswaxes and spermaceti, it is used as a stiffening agent, that is hardening agent for the semi-solid. Then the next point, that is the stability. Drugs which are sensitive to hydrolysis can be formulated with the anhydrous bases. As already we have seen, the bases are furthermore divided as a hydrous and anhydrous, isn't it? If the drug is sensitive to moisture, we have to suppose to select the anhydrous base. So the drug precipitation in the cap, that is the inside, say for example, this is the container and here is a cap. There may be chances of the precipitation of drug inside the cap, and which can be prevented by addition of the glycerin and propylene glycol as a humectant. Then the preservative should be added in the aqueous spaces to prevent the microbial growth, so as to we can ensure the stability of the bases. Then the concentration. So we have to select the such a concentration of base. It should release the free and pure drug from the formulation. And the last one, that is a color. That is, if the drug it is white or colorless, we should use the colorless base, isn't it? If the drug is colored one, we have to suppose to use the yellow petrolactam or yellow beeswax. So these are the some pharmaceutical factors which needs to be considered while selecting the bases. Let us move towards the dermatological factors like non-medicated factors, effect on skin function, absorption and penetration, skin compatibility, miscibility with the skin secretion and serum, freedom from irritant effect and emollient property. The very first one, that is a non-medicated effect. Non-medicated effects means what? Say for example, emollient effect, protective effect. For example, oily bases provides the emollient, protective and moisturizing property. Means while selecting the suitable base, we have to suppose to think about the non-medicated effects also. Sometimes we require these non-medicated effect in our formulation. For dry skin, oily bases should be selected, and for wet skin, a water miscible bases should be used. Means say for example, if the type of skin is the wet skin, we have to suppose to prescribe the formulation which is prepared by using a water miscible base. So water miscible and soluble bases are less occlusive and the emollient. Water immiscible are more occlusive and the emollient. Then effect on skin function. So whatever selected base, it should not affect the skin function. Water miscible bases are preferred than the hydrocarbon base because water miscible bases have a low residence on skin while immiscible bases have good residence time. Water immiscible bases, that is oleaginous bases, they are going to form the occlusive film, isn't it? And furthermore produces the discomfort due to retention of heat and moisture, right? Due to retention of heat and moisture. So it should not, whatever selected base is there, it should not affect the normal function of the skin. Moving towards the next point, that is the absorption and penetration to the vegetable oil, natural fats, and waxes have a self skin penetration properties. Then the surfactant already we have discussed, they are going to improve the skin permeability by altering the skin barrier function. Then furthermore, oily bases which are going to promote the skin hydration and leads to increased skin penetration. Means if we require the good absorption and penetration of drug, we have to supposed to think about the oily bases which promotes the penetration of drug, or we have to supposed to use some penetration enhances in the formulation. Then the skin compatibility, as already we have discussed, the skin is having a pH 5.5. Skin is having a pH 5.5 and can tolerate weakly acidic products. So the creams containing alkali soaps like a sodium hydroxide or the sodium or the potassium, which are going to irritate the broken skin, right? The bleached form of petrolactum, that is white petrolactum, and white beeswax irritates the broken skin and the eyes. And furthermore, the wool fat sensitizes the skin. So these parameters needs to be considered while selecting the bases. Means we should have the sufficient knowledge about the all physicochemical properties of the bases in order to formulate the good semi-solid product. Then miscibility with the skin secretions and serum. So emulsion bases are more soluble in skin secretions than the hydrocarbon bases, as skin secretions are aqueous in nature. So, but obvious they are going to be dissolved well into the emulsion bases than the hydrocarbon bases. Solubility of drug in the skin secretion increases the drug release. Similarly, the O by W type of emulsion bases are soluble in the serum from broken skin. So this is about the miscibility with the skin secretions and serum. If the product it is miscible with the skin secretion or the serum, it is going to promote the drug absorption. Then freedom from the irritant effect. There is a greasy basis causes irritation, and there may be chances of edema. As already in on previous slide we have discussed, the irritation may be also provided by the some bleached products of the bases. And last one, that is a emollient property, which is very important. Under normal conditions, the skin is sufficiently moist due to continuous hydration. Say, for example, we have the normal skin due to the normal situation, the skin it is sufficiently moist and which is in a continuously hydrated state, and dryness and the brittleness of the skin. If furthermore there is a drying or the brittleness of skin which causes the discomfort, isn't it? The ointment base should possess the emollient property which will keep skin moist, isn't it? So generally we are using the humectants which are going to retain the moisture, water like glycerin, propylene glycol, which are going to keep skin moist and soft. Then wool fat, paraffin, keep skin soft by preventing rapid loss of moisture from the skin. So this is about the emollient property. Then the cosmetic factors, yes, it is very important, which needs to be considered while selecting the base, that is appearance and ease of application and removal. As all of you are aware about that, the creams are more attractive than the ointments due to its creamy appearance. Because in the market, you have seen the product that is the white petroleum jelly as well as the cold cream. Cold creams are more acceptable than the white petroleum jelly. Then furthermore, the gels which are moist and looking transparent, which are more attractive than the other products. Then ease of application and removal. That is, a stiff and sticky ointment bases are not suitable if it is a very stiff and hard. Ointment prepared using non-oily, non-sticky bases are easy to spread. Water-soluble bases are non-staining and easily removed. Also, the gels can be easily applied and removed. So these are the some factors related with the cosmetic factors, the appearance and ease of application. So herewith we have finished the selection of the semi-solid bases. So we have discussed the pharmaceutical factors, dermatological factors, and the cosmetic factors for selection of semi-solid bases. So herewith we have finished the point selection of semi-solid bases.